What's up, guys? Welcome to I-90 Sports. What's up?
It's so much better now that we're champs.
Anything possible!
We've never had a 4,000-yard passing. And we're the oldest franchise in the NFL.
Headed east towards the coast, and we're going to head towards Foxborough, Massachusetts, and Gillette Stadium, and let's talk about the I feel like we've kind of been beating a dead horse with this, but like the Mac Jones and the Cam Newton situation.
Hey, it's news.
But it seems like there's just something new to talk about with it, some new aspect of it every week. And this week we kind of got like a little, we got a little snippet that was interesting. Newton. So, and we'll dive in. We're going to go into this a little farther here. So Cam Newton, what's up? What's up, man? What's up, Swampy Acres? What's up? So we're going to dive right into this, right? Newton, if you're outside of the New England area, you're not a Patriot fan, and you're listening to this podcast, Cam Newton had to sit out practice because of the old C-19 protocols. He did not test positive. I repeat, he did not test positive. After further research, it was basically what happened was he was okayed for a doctor's visit outside of the New England area. The team knew about this a month in advance. He was okayed for the doctor visit to go see whatever specialist he needed to go see. Went and saw him, came back, took the proper test, went through the proper, he took the test, got a negative result. It was a paperwork mess up, basically. Somebody, whether it was from his team, his team of guys that handles him, or the Patriots organization, the team of guys that handle that's the C-19 stuff with them, they didn't send the paperwork into the league, basically. And since they didn't get the proper paperwork saying that he was negative and he could return to the team, facility and start, resume normal activities. They had to sit him out for 5 days. Now, I mean, if you're in kind of a QB situation where Mac Jones and Cam Newton are,
sorry,
and you're Cam Newton and you're basically told, you gotta sit out because we didn't get your proper paperwork in. Imagine Cam Newton being told that, sorry, we didn't get your paperwork, Cam. You gotta sit out for 5 days, even though you're. So not only did he have to sit out, but he had to take multiple more tests to confirm that he was still negative.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Put yourself in Cam's shoes and how that would have, imagine getting that news. You're in what some are calling a QB, battle for QB1, and you got to sit. That's not good. That can't be good. Cam couldn't have been happy with that news.
Well, Cam, yeah, exactly. Cam's probably gone to that doctor. I'm assuming, but I assume that Cam's probably gone to doctors outside of the league, outside of the team for years. Back when he's Carolina and stuff. So he's not thinking anything of it. He's just going about his business, just doing everything the way he does it. Other people make mistakes. And he has to pay for it.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
See, and it just goes down to the flaws of these protocols. There's so many flawed. It hurts everyone. It doesn't, if one person messes up, other people suffer that had nothing to do with it. It just doesn't make any sense.
So let's dive a little deeper into that, though. So he sits. He's got to sit for 5 days. Jones goes out and goes to practice. They have a joint practice with the Patriots and the Giants, and he throws 18 straight completions. and lights them up during practice, right? And drops an absolute dime to Jacoby Myers during that practice, right?
That's pretty great. So Cam can't even practice during this time?
So, well, he did return, right?
Okay.
So he finally was able to return. But as I just think that's like I think you said it perfectly. Like there's flaws in the way that system, like there's definitely flaws, and we'll dive like this, Cam and Mac are neck and neck. Like they're Newton will probably start, but having Mac Jones breathing down his neck like that is not, that's constantly keeping pressure on him, which is, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but like when something comes up that's out of your control, it's
highly unfortunate for you. And a lot of people painted the false label on him, like, oh, he doesn't care about the team, he's an anti-vaxxer or whatever they said. That's not what it is. He literally was going out, he was trying to comply. It's just other people didn't do exactly what they wanted them to do, and that just wasn't enough for the league. And the league has these policies that are just overly bearing, in my opinion. It's just way too much. That's the way I see it. It's not that Cam didn't care about the team. Cam cares so much about the team. Cam loves football. So that's just something that's an unfair thing to paint him as. And it's really it's like you said, it's just these rules are, they're just, they hurt people. There's so much collateral damage when you're supposedly just trying to help people. And I would ask this question. I would bring it into this. I would even bring the conversation further and say this. What's so different than last year? Wasn't it worse last year? I thought it was worse last year. But I thought people were supposedly dying more last year, and it was more contagious last year. But now all of a sudden, now we have to up the ante, even though there's less people who are. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, and we kind of talked about this off screen, and you brought some of this stuff up, right? And like we could scroll through this, right? Like we could scroll through this. I mean, this document, look at that, says page 50, 51, 52. You know what I mean? Like it's 50 pages of if you have the shot, this is what you got to do. If you don't have the shot, this is what you got to do. It just, like, you look at this, look at the page number, guys. Like this is it's just,
I'll go slower.
Like look at, like you're talking like 50 plus pages of documents, and it's basically just telling you what you got to do for either side. And there's all sorts of different aspects of it, and like look at that, it's 50 pages of stuff.
Failing
now there's all sorts of different aspects of this that go into it. Like we can, the owners and the owners of the league and the owners of these teams and the NFL, the owners of the league, I get what they're trying to do. They're doing the best they can with the given situations and trying to
Yeah, if you're Cam, this is what you have to abide by.
The intentions of all of it were to just try and make it as safe a work, is trying to make people as comfortable as they, as comfortable and as safe as they possibly could during the given circumstances. But what you're adding when you do something like that, right? When you say, if you decide to get the shot, it's these are your protocols, and you give them a huge list. And if you decide not to, then you give them a list with all the stuff over here, and you're adding a whole new aspect to the game that these coaches have to consider now. It's adding a whole new aspect of coaching for the year to what the NFL coaches' jobs are already hard enough, and now they're going to be looking at whether or not you get this shot or whether or not you don't, and then they're going to be looking at all the protocols for each side. And it just seems like an NFL locker room is a massive just combination of egos and backgrounds and viewpoints and different viewpoints on everything. On everything. It doesn't matter what the topic is. not everybody in that locker room is going to agree. And it just, you have to, now they got to consider like, well, the divisiveness of doing something. I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to keep everybody safe and comfortable. But at the same time, it's like, it's a divisive thing to me. And I don't know how that sits with me. I don't like that I don't like that it could divide a locker room. That's what
I agree, and I think it has. I think it already has. I think it's divided more than a locker room. I think it's divided this entire country.
The league.
And I don't think
the league too. Just not even shrinking it down like even farther. Like
the league, especially.
It's dividing the league.
The owners are divided. The players are divided. Coaches are divided. Everyone's divided because we all have to abide by these brand new, fresh set of rules that are just placed on us. Now it's no longer about football. Half of it's not about football. And I would ask this: while you're trying to supposedly make things more safe and comfortable, are you in turn making things more dangerous or less prosperous for yourself, the league, the players, and the coaches? Because think about this: if I'm a player and let's say let's say I have an allergy to certain like vaccinations, which is a thing, by the way. There is certain things. Let's say there's another reason. There's a million different reasons that people have. Regardless, it should be my choice whether I want to do that. It shouldn't be either you do that or you lose your job. And it is the league's prerogative to do that. It's just becoming to this point where you're going to lose players to other leagues too. The XFL is a thing. Other people will do things. And beyond that, are you making it safer? Because a part of it is this. I don't think you're making it actually safer by doing that. There's always a risk when you're taking any medicine at all, regardless of what it is, if it's a vaccine or whatever it is. And if you're a young football player, what's your actual risk in this pandemic? If you're if you're an older person, I understand what they're trying to do. But if you're a young person, what is your actual risk? Is it significant enough to take the risk of vaccination? I'm sure they're weighing all of those things individually. But as a league, are they going to be a pro-choice medical league, or are they going to be a league where it's just it's our way or the highway? And I think that's very dangerous territory to get into for legal reasons, for business reasons, and for a lot of other reasons. And I think it's like you said, it's just divisive, and the coaches no longer have to worry about. They don't have to worry about who's the best player. They have to worry about who's the most compliant and I guess the best worth it player. It makes it very messy.
It puts a lot of different. I mean, like I said, an NFL coach is already a stressful position because he's got to worry about. He doesn't have to worry about one. Like these assistant coaches under him have to worry about. They have one job, one specific job. The coach's job is to oversee everything. It's a wide spectrum job. Oversee everything that goes on the field and sometimes even off the field, because he's got to help these guys through, the coach is a tough job. And I think by adding a whole new set of stuff to go by, you add a whole new different element to it. And it's just, their job's already hard enough. That's what
I agree. It should be like entirely on the trainers, and I hope it is. I hope that they don't ask the coach like, I don't know. I agree.
It has the potential to be a really like, and I get it has the potential to be a really divisive thing. That's all that I'm getting at. And like people could lose people could lose a starting position or even a spot on the team simply because of a status.
This is the security staff too. So they're telling the security staff, like, it's weird. Like the NFL is basically operating as if they're a nursing home. They're basically going off of the protocols of like everyone to the, they're operating. The NBA didn't do this. The MLB didn't do this.
Where like, don't get me wrong. I'm just trying to give everybody that's listening to this podcast a bunch of different viewpoints on it,
And I get why people want to be safe. You always want to be safe, but at what cost? At what cost? You're gonna tear down your entire league for it? I don't know, man. It's getting strange awfully fast, and I just can't wait for the season to start. I think as the season starts and people get more focused on football, a lot of these protocols will become less and less important. Maybe I'm hoping. This is just optimistic. I just want everyone to focus on football. That's what I really love.
It's just an interesting topic because it adds, like we said at the beginning of when we started talking about this, it adds a whole new aspect into that.
You mentioned like a scarlet letter aspect, didn't you? Talk about that.
Well, that's something, because it's like, not only are you saying these, I don't like mixing business and personal life. Personal life, like your personal life, your personal decisions are that they're personal. Nobody, unless you tell someone your personal life, it should remain personal, and you shouldn't be judged for personal, especially in a sport.
Public sport.
Especially in a sport, right? If you're a professional athlete, your merit and how you conduct yourself on and off the field is what should matter. You know, are you a professional on the field? Are you a professional on the field? Are you a good sport? Are you professional, and do you conduct yourself in a professional manner? And then off the field, the guy does a lot of, he's really good at he's really good at what he does on the field, and he's a good sport. He's a good sport. And then you go off the field with it, and he does a lot of charity, so whoever it is does a lot of charity. Well, you're a professional. Mm-hmm. But that should have nothing to do with your personal decisions.
Medical decisions.
Personal in general. It doesn't matter what it is. Personal life is personal life. Business life is business is business. And
True.
when you say when you have two separate rules for something, it mixes. It's going to mix the two, and when that happens, it usually doesn't have good results, and especially if you're going to get punished for making what you think, so you consider something in your personal life. You take all the information, you do your own research, you take all of that information that you have gathered, and you make the best decision for you. And yet some other place, or your place of wherever, business or sport, is going to punish you for a decision. That's the part that I don't like. Like mixing business and personal, it never ends. Most of the time it never ends good. And that's where we were saying, like me and you were both saying, like when you add this whole different aspect into a game like football, basketball, into these professional sports where the athletes already got enough to worry about. Now you put that on the coaches too. It's going to be very interesting to see what kind of an effect this
I just feel like no one was asking the NFL to do this. Nobody was like saying, "Hey, NFL, you got to up those protocols by 30-40% and make things just a little bit harder for everyone to do their job." Last year was fine. The NFL season was, it wasn't ideal, but it was fine. It wasn't as bad as this.
They made it through. They made it through 16 games in. They made it through 16 regular games, an entire postseason, and a Super Bowl.
And they didn't really have this much. They didn't have 90 pages of protocols that every single person down to the concession stand has to follow. That's a little bit nuts in my opinion. And honestly, I feel like the only people that it hurts, I feel like, is the owners and the league itself. The players, there's other leagues sprouting up out of nowhere. And yes, they won't make millions and millions of dollars, but
they'll cut into it. They'll cut into it though.
Sports is huge. You're not. You're only shooting yourself in the foot here, in my opinion. And from the owner's standpoint, you talk about like looking at everyone's perspective. The owner's standpoint, I bet a few of them are like, "Bro, we are being stupid right now," but a few of them are like, "Oh, we got to do this for whatever reason they feel that way."
I bet they're divided. I bet the owners are divided as well. To me, it just never seemed like it's never a good idea to mix the two.
It's just not. I agree.
Because like everybody has their own like I said, personal is personal. Everybody has their own values and stuff. You have friends with different personal opinions on everything, but they're still your friends. You know what I mean? Like it's just like I don't know. That's how I look at it. I'm very curious to see how all of these you know, these separated rules for the different groups. You know what I mean? Like I'm just curious to see how it will, because I do have a feeling it's going to affect it's going to affect it in some way. It will. It's just going to be, it's something we'll monitor it here. You know, if any big news comes up from it, or we,
yeah, we'll definitely look into it. And if there's anything that's crazy happens, I'm happy for Cam that Bill Belichick came out and said, no, Cam's a starter. Cam's a starter.
Yeah.
That was my Bill Belichick impression, by the way. Cam's a starter.
No, it's like it's just a very interesting topic, and it's a very like
it is
because they have to manage it too. Like they have to manage it and make sure not only the coaches but the owners too. They have to manage this as well and make sure that it doesn't divide their locker room.
And how doesn't it really go against people's like human inalienable rights? Like basically, if you don't get this, you have to wear certain things. You're like, what? So everyone knows that I didn't do that now. Like you're basically like putting me on the spot right now. Like,
yeah, no, and that's a completely different thing. Like it's basically showing everyone, anybody in the live crowd, anybody watching on TV, it's like singling. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like when somebody. I don't like when people.
This whole thing is a sketchy situation. All of it.
I don't like it when people punish people for a personal decision, and it's a business. You know, like
I agree.
Don't mix the two. That's just what I like. It never works. It never works out well.
Yeah, I agree. I think that right there said enough. Don't mix it. Does not. Yes, it does not mix, because you're right. It doesn't mix. There's too many problems at hand when you try to do that, and it piles up fast. But
so we talked about the Cam Newton stuff for a little bit, and we talked about these, the protocols and how we saw Cam have to suffer for that, for somebody, basically a paperwork screw up.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't. I don't think it was. It's funny though, because as soon as people found out that he was in or placed in those protocols and on that list, it was immediately jumped to the worst case scenario when you wait for like the Boston beat writers to do their job and they're like, guys, he's fine. It was a simple paperwork. It was just a screw up in communication.
Yeah, so many people jump to like the worst. You're right. They jump.
And let's say that was the regular season. Like put it on any team. Your starting quarterback has a paperwork mess up, and now he's got to sit for 5 days.
Yeah, that would ruin your entire week, because now you wouldn't be able to prep at all. That you're right. That from that standpoint, especially from that, I gotta glue this on here. From that standpoint, especially, it's like especially handicapping, I suppose, or kneecapping, you could say, because how can your quarterback then prepare for what that defense is going to do to them all week if they have, or not even just your quarterback. Let's say it's your left tackle, and your left tackle is out of sync because of some
you have to put a rookie in there because the veteran's out. Yeah.
Or there's some paperwork mess up again, and you just lost a game because your quarterback kept getting sacked because your offensive lineman didn't have all his paperwork in line, and it's not even his fault. It's the people who handle this stuff. Man, it's so convoluted at that point. That's the word I was looking for too. It's like, that's just convoluted. Like there's too much going on. Like if he's sick, sit him. If he's not, you can play. When did that stop being a thing? Like, I don't know. Like when you have the flu, you don't just play. Even though back in the day, people would play with Jordan was famous for playing with the flu game. But why weren't people back then saying he's putting everyone at risk? Everyone's at risk now. But like that's a legendary story that for Chicago. But apparently that'd be bad nowadays. That's unacceptable. You're putting people at risk. I don't like that, man. That's too much.
But let's
Too much.
so